In lifespanning, there is no plan B. I'm Jean Fallacara, and my guests are coming to this podcast for a reason. There's no rules, no BS, just pure biohacking. I don't want to know what you have to sell. I want to know who you are. Welcome to the No Plan B podcast. I'm Jean Fallacara. Today, I have the privilege to have Dr. Patrick Kramer from Germany, Hamburg. Patrick is one of these cyborg out there. The first time he reached out to me, he said like, hey, if you talk about cyborgs, we need to talk because I am the cyborg. And I was just like curious to get him on the podcast and to see what he was doing. Then I learned, of course, what he was doing, and it's very close to transhumanism, I would guess. But we're going to talk about all these things. Dr. Patrick Kramer or Kramer. Kramer. Please, Patrick, introduce yourself. It's going to be a better job if you do it than if I do it.
Of course. Hello. Thank you, Jean, for having me on your show. It's a great honor on my side. Yes, my name is Patrick Kramer. 53 years old, from Hamburg, Germany, from the north of Germany. And you just came up with some buzzwords, cyborgs and technology and transhumanism. I would call myself rather a biohacker and not so much a transhumanist. But we'll get into that a little bit later because I see biohacking as a very broad term. And I've been doing that for about approximately 10 years after university, and I studied like all over the world. I was a business consultant in one of the big 5 consulting companies, working there for, I think, like 12, 13 years or something, 5 days a week out of a suitcase until I didn't function anymore. I was in such a burnout as I know today, but at that days, I didn't even know the term. I was not able to pack my suitcase anymore. Wow. I was not able to put on a t-shirt. I just didn't know how to do it anymore. I couldn't take a taxi because taxi was always, for me, Monday, very, very early going to the airport.
So it was stress generated?
Yes, it was stress, and I was heavily obese. I had like 119 kilo. Probably show. Like 200. How much is that? 40 pounds or something?
Yeah, 240 to 50 pounds. That's quite
something
big.
Like this. Yeah. I'm 1.83 m, which is about 6 foot.
6 foot.
And so and I was like tired all the time. I couldn't sleep in hotels anymore. And it was just not working. And went to doctors. They prescribed some pills, some medicine. But it didn't feel right. It didn't really solve my underlying problems. And that was also the time, I'm one of these strategy guys where you define objectives, where you define KPIs, goals, you can only manage what you can measure things. I applied that to to companies, and I did performance management there. And I was always fascinated on basically applying the same theories or the same logic to people, to myself. And then I'm sure you remember the 2010s, 2011s, when we got the first Fitbits, fitness trackers. You remember that days? Yeah. Suddenly I was able to count my steps or to count my movement or my sleep in a digital way, and I was hooked from the first moment. I thought that is fascinating.
It was an addictive technology. It's still an addictive technology for sure.
Yeah, especially because of my background, counting and setting KPIs, and I felt like I could have some KPIs for myself. Not only on the movement part, but also on the rest part or on the social part. How often have I met my family? How often have I seen my kids? Blah blah blah. So I was really into that technology, and then all this trend came over from the States. and it was called, I think, Quantified Self. And this was a time where we started to measure ourselves, our bodies. And I did some very crazy stuff, Jean, at that time. Still working. I started a blog. I was a blogger.
Nice.
Do you remember that? Very crazy stuff. And no, I
Very
had a blog.
time consuming stuff. Yeah.
I had a blog on basically on fitness trackers and smart watches, the first ones.
But let me ask you, you dropped your daily job?
No, not at that time.
Okay.
Not at that time. That came later. And my wife then at that time, she was pregnant, and I say, well, I have this little blog here. You're pregnant. Could you imagine, like selling some fitness tracker from the basement of a house, from the garage, basically, to start a little side business while you're pregnant? You cannot go to work. And so we did, and everything started basically around 2014. But then I realized 2015 very, very quickly that everything I wrote was to a very big portion copied by some very big e-commerce company out there. And then you have that, you sit there and you think, shall I take legal actions against this giant corporation, or shall I just try to find another way? And I, decided for the latter. And
to avoid,
and then
why you took the easy path where you were a warrior with measurement and data?
Yeah, but I was in my mind. I always knew that fitness trackers at that time was just a technology. It's just a start, and I wanted more. I had already these ideas of why you can wear technology only on your skin, like this, ring or a watch. Why not 1-2 millimeter deeper under your skin? What's the difference? But this difference basically turned out into a mindfuck for a lot of people. Sorry for my French. Yeah. And I was fascinated by the concept of integrating technology under your skin, which allows for an easier life, which allows for a life with less things you need to be concerned about. Where are my keys? What's my password? Where's this? What is here? Do I have to recharge my smartphone? So all these distractions, I hated that.
But, I need to jump in.
Of course.
I'm sorry.
No, go on.
With that in mind, having that idea that you need to have those things like part of you, for someone that was struggling with stress, you're going to have to explain me one point is you're putting some things that doesn't allow you a disconnect in terms of mindfulness or psychological disconnection with these gadgets integrated into you. It's a kind of paradox in the story. So
it is.
Yeah, one side of you is suffering stress. On the other side, you're trying to avoid stress with tools and things like that, but you put a burden on yourself with more not disconnectable accessories that are directly impacting your mindset.
Exactly. But the point is, just imagine at that time when I really was not in the best mental state anymore. I was not like in the full burnout at that time. It was just getting more and more. I left the house, forgot the keys inside, needed to have a company coming over. It was super stressful for me. That happened, I think, 2 or 3 times. And then the concept of having my keys under my skin was something I really thought, well, this is a peace of mind for me. Because I never need to worry about those things anymore. And the idea was, if I can incorporate like digital connections or applications into myself that allow me for like a rested mind, allow me for not to care about this technology, is something I really liked the idea. And so I started experimenting with that kind of topic. And then the story got really crazy, I must say. I got a phone call in 2015, it was, if I could imagine running a booth on one of the biggest IT fairs that we had at that time in the world, the CeBIT in Hanover. I don't know if you guys have heard about the CeBIT fair. One of the 200,000 visitors every year and stuff like this. And I said, okay, why not? And it got totally out of control. I mean, I was on the landing page of the CeBIT fair on the internet. They advertised the whole CeBIT with me, not with the big IT companies or something. They run a press tour conference with 120 reporters or press guys from all over the world. And they terminated the press tour when they reached my little stand, because this was far more interesting than the next generation of, I don't know, graphic card or something like that. It got crazy, and it was so out of control that afterwards I had a complete, not only mental burnout, but also physical burnout. I just couldn't move anymore. And that was then the time where I said, okay, let's do this professionally. And that was also the time where I reached out to other people like Timo, you had on your show also, and where we first understood that there are other people like me around. I was like the first here in Germany and Austria and Switzerland and that. But and then you heard something like biohacking. These terms suddenly came up. We didn't hear that before. And I was fascinated. And for me, having microchip implants, for instance, under my skin is really one of the biohacks I'm doing to have a more relaxed, a more stable life, a more healthier life. And even if you say it sounds sort of paradox, and but
you got a point. You had a point, actually. I always preach the same way as you said, by saying what puts you in the ultimate state of zenness is the fact that you get rid of all the stressors that are minimalist stressors, like what kind of clothes do you put on you, what kind of shoes do you have to wear. And in that line, I have to accept that you have a great point.
It is if you think about it, it is some sort of minimalism for me. I'm a big fan of minimalism, because the less you own, the less you need to manage and care about. Like my sleeping room, for instance, I keep very minimalistic. It's always tidied up. There's nothing lying around, and I try to avoid possessing a lot of things. And these kind of implants, this is what I call this shy tech. They are there under the skin, but you don't see them, you don't feel them. They don't hurt, you don't beep at the airport, they do nothing. And they are there for 20, 30, 50 years. And what you can do with them really depends on the person wearing them. On me, I don't need my passwords. I have my medical information. I can do my payments, my shopping with that. I have my door keys, and you don't see them. It's always there. No matter where I am in the world, I always have my door keys with me. And this, for me, when I realized, it was a very strong mental hack for me, actually. And I think most of people having problems with that kind of biohacking because they are afraid of technology they don't understand. But if you are going deeper into what technology is it actually, and what does it do to your body and all these things, you realize very quickly that it's one of the most harmless things you can imagine. It's like a grain of rice sitting in your fat tissue, and it's not gonna harm at all. And
we're gonna deep dive into that, because I have a question on that. I have two things I want to share with you. First is, what happens if you move from your house, or you need to change the door? Do you need to?
I don't need to. No,
if you're moving to another country, you don't need.
You don't need to. It's not the door; it's only the door lock cylinder. That's different. And I have one that I can take with me and change the length of the cylinder.
Okay.
So that's not a big deal. I use it also for the gym, for hotels, name it.
Is it RFID based technology?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It's like what you have. You can connect with your smartphone, and you have
credit card
many people have this in their wallet or this in their can you see it in the video?
The fob.
Yeah, that's like key fobs.
Yeah.
You all have that with you.
Mm-hmm.
The only difference is it's the form factor.
Yeah.
You know, here you have like an antenna and you have a small microchip, and we are taking that and making it even smaller and just making it sterile and bringing it under the skin, and it's just sitting there. We've been doing that with our pets for like 30, 40 years.
That is true. Absolutely. The chip and we don't putting on our pets as some identification. Yes.
In some regions here in Germany, it's mandatory. If you have a dog, for instance, you have to chip them. It's mandatory.
True, yeah.
And we don't care. We just do it. No one asks, oh, is my dog then beeping at the airport, or can you trace him with no? But when I have the same sort of very old, simple technology under my skin, people go like, oh, we can track you. And it's so funny.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the trace of that. I'm most worried about the impact of, like, we're trying to protect ourselves from EMF, RFIDs, emission, 5G and whatsoever. But we're going to dig into that. Now, I just want to jump back into what you said before. Patrick, I think that you have the correct definition of what biohacking is actually perceived, because this is the story of biohacking. Dave Asprey came up on the market and say, I'm the father of biohacking, and biohacking is taking supplements, putting your butt into the red light and
taking a cold dip in the ice bath.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, making shrink your bones. But overall, I have respect for all these techniques, because I do practice them. But I do think that the term biohacking is really a biased word that has been misused today and totally negatively perceived, because it's been used for all sorts of reasons. But you have the right definition. You are actually really and truly hacking your biology by implementing chips and magnets and all these things. Because as a scientist, I have to say, like many people say, like, you cannot hack your biology because it's biology. It is a true fact. But the way that you're doing it, you are actually hacking your body to improve it, to upgrade it to a certain level of functionalities across your daily lives. So I think you need to keep that biohacking, and not, like I said at the beginning, I withdraw the term I've said, like, people considered you as transhumanism. And in the biohacking community, many people are trying to stay away from this real biohacking and trying to get the name biohacking just granted.
It's a cool word, right? It's a really cool. It is. It's a cool word. Yeah. Let me comment on that, Jean. With all respect for Dave Asprey, but I think he's by far not the father of biohacking. I think the sort of humans like 100,000 years ago, or 10,000 years, I don't know, who first started to cook their meal on a fire, that was biohacking. They transformed biology into a different state. And when you really look at the wordings, you have hacking, and for many people, especially here, I don't know about the States, but here in Germany, a hacker is like this bad guy with a hoodie trying to break into a computer system.
The one behind me.
But actually, a hack is something positive. It's a do-it-yourself approach to achieve a certain goal. And in a way that's not a common way of doing that. You know, it's something unique, actually, something first. Yeah. It's like a hack. And
hack is a shortcut normally.
Yeah. And it's something very personal. So what works for one person does not mean to work for another person. And when you hack yourself, your biology for self-optimization or for longer life or whatever, we have like a big industry around now, supplements for biohacking and LED displays and whatever.
Everything is biohacking today. It's
everything. Every doctor is now a biohacker. Yeah. Every coach is a biohacker. Yeah. It's like inflationary. But in the true term, I mean, look, I would call this, or this is a term that's coming on here more and more. We call this natural biohacking, where you go like having cold plunges, where you go in the forest, where you meditate. We call this natural biohacking now. But there's also, I call this body hacking, like a subform where you bring technology not on the skin. Why is an aura ring biohacking? But if I would take the technology under the skin, it's suddenly not biohacking anymore. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't.
And we have implants that measure your body temperature and stuff like that. And you can do amazing things. So that is also biohacking. Biohacking is also, if you ask me, DNA hacking. There are great people out there. Really, they sit in laboratories. They hack biology on a DNA level, not maybe their own, but plants or organisms. That's also biohacking.
Are you referring to CRISPR and technology?
Yeah, something like this. Yes, that's biohacking. Look at the Odin, the company.
CRISPR could be considered because this is like a physical attempt to change the sequence.
The difference, Jean, is that a while ago, CRISPR was only happening at like state laboratories or something. But now you do that at home at your kitchen table.
Yeah, I know.
That's biohacking. And I would love to have that as a kid in school in biology classes with CRISPR. It would have been great. We would have been biohackers there. It's so cool. I love it. You also could consider biohacking, like 3D, 4D bioprinting, where you print basically organs, like living organs, and I think the brain is the only organ these days that you actually cannot print.
Not even reproduce in terms of network. Yeah, it's so complex.
And if you have the desire to change some, parts in your body and you can print them, that's also biohacking in my philosophy.
Okay.
Yeah. They are different. The field of biohacking in my term is much broader than this narrow area of natural, or we take supplements of something.
Yeah, it became a cult. A perception of biohackers are like a part of a certain cult. I have a news for you. We actually came with a concept that is called life spanning. The word doesn't exist in English, but it's our name, and you can be a life spanner. So it extends from all what you said, natural to, and at the extreme, we're talking biohacking, science, longevity, because the extreme goal of everything that is done in this business is extending life. So we're talking in a way or the other, longevity in a way. But longevity, and radical longevity followers, they don't want to be called biohackers, but they're all biohackers as well. And biohackers, they don't want to be called just longevity optimizers. So anyway, short story, I do agree with you with all these things that they can help, and we can discuss the language and the lingui forever on the wording. I want to, please, Patrick.
Just one comment on that one.
Yeah.
I'm also giving presentations and keynotes on what is biohacking, and I come to my very own conclusion that I say biohacking is like a big menu. Yeah. And some of the food that you see on the table is like good for you, but there's also other food that is good for other people. And you just take from this menu whatever suits you. And if you are a biohacker, you should still be a hacker. You still should be innovation driven. You should still think, oh, I'm trying this. Oh, it doesn't work. Then I try something else, and this do-it-yourself approach for me is very important. And I personally think what a real biohacker should be is to be very open-minded and say there are other forms of biohacking, and not only, supplements and cold plunges is biohacking and the only way. Lots of people are biohackers without knowing that or something.
And everyone is a biohacker on
they
this
pursue
planet.
They pursue other ways, but it's still biohacking. But I think a biohacker should be open-minded and curious about what other people are doing. This might not be your way or this guy's way, but it's great if that's the way for me or for my friend who are experimenting with technology not only on but also under the skin. I think biohacking should be, like a curious do-it-yourself approach still. But nowadays, it goes a lot into consuming biohacking. You have all this video, you have all these coaches, you have all these retreats, and they basically deliver to you biohacking.
Well, it's a buzzword that came from $1 million to $60 billion industry. Of course,
exactly.
People are using it as much as they can.
And this self-driven curiosity of what can you do with your body without reading, when 10 years ago there was nothing to read about. We just tried things. I had no idea where to put the first implants and how to do it. We just hacked, and something went well and other things didn't went well. So that's hacking for me. Trial and error.
So you have to admit something. It takes a certain character and psychology and philosophy to stick to your definition of a biohacker, because I was always under the impression that everyone on this planet is a biohacker and probably doesn't know it. But not all people are ready to try things on them and see if they work. Like, I know that some people, when I talk about staying 45 minutes in a cold plunge, they go like, and what about if you can't control your body anymore? So people are afraid about not controlling their body. What would they think about not controlling what you insert under your skin? So it takes a certain character, and probably your group of people or your friends, what you do is in that pattern, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. Of course, but they still consider them as biohackers. Mm-hmm. It's just a different form. But but many of my friends and myself as well, I also look into other forms, this natural biohacking, and I also look into supplements. I also do my meditation. I do these things as well, but I don't stop on my skin. I just go deeper because I see a lot of advantages. And when I look at what we are having under the skin, I mean, there's hardly anything out there that we have more experience with than with microchip implants, for instance. We have turtles, we have even, goldfish who have been with microchips for 30 years. And that's fine. They are fine. We have a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, but okay, I'm going to take defense of the scientific community. We've been trying many and several tests on rats, on fish, and growth hormones before on rabbits, for example. It doesn't mean that they apply to human. It's not a straight line from the animal world, or what works on rats works on human. We need to be careful on that part. Now, let me ask you a question. How many chips do you have under your skin?
5. It's not that one microchip does this thing and the other microchip does that thing. Okay. Sometimes you need to have different microchips on different frequencies because the world out there is not standardized. Nice. Yeah. So for payment, of course, for my door, for my gym, for emergency information, for my passwords, in Corona times, I don't know if this even works. I haven't used it for a while. I was able to start my Corona certificate that we had to have here in Germany. No, I think there it goes. It's still there. It still opens the app with that. Okay. But that's me. I have other people who are other friends who are having implants that are glowing, for instance, under the skin.
For what?
And for optical reasons. Do you have a tattoo?
Yeah.
For what?
I have many.
For what?
Well,
Jean?
it's a cultural thing.
There you go.
Yeah.
And now imagine you have not a tattoo, but you have something that glows under your skin.
What do you do with? Okay, perfect. I'm curious. I accept.
We have Just imagine you have like a dragon on your shoulder tattooed, and you have the eyes of the dragon that are glowing red in the dark.
Yeah, but that would be against the biohacking principle of the circadian rhythm to be respected, because you're going to trigger some lights during your sleep.
No. It's just lights up the second you have a reader connected to it. And you take it away. There's no battery. We don't have any toxic battery or something like that. No way. There's nothing toxic around it or something. No, but people do these things for different reasons. And or playing, for instance, you mentioned that at the beginning, we're adding magnets under the skin.
Yeah,
you know, magnets is a very strong biohack, because magnets give you another sense, another body sense. You're hacking your senses of your body, because you can feel then electromagnetic fields. But that's a very strong biohack. You're adding senses to your body.
Okay, and I need to dig into this one before you step into another one. Magnetic fields, because we are made of energy and most of our cells are polarized, plus minus. How can you ensure that the magnetic field that you're creating, that is permanent into your body, is not affecting your biology in a way that is changing probably the polarity of your cells? And I'm talking like everything derivated from quantum physics now, like the quantum entanglement that is part of it. But since you are forcing your body to follow the cell of your body in a certain area of your body to follow a certain path, a certain field by polarity, because this is what is a magnet about. How can you guarantee that you're not shifting some things into your biology with that process?
Oh, not at all. You cannot. You're a hacker. You're trying things and you are seeing for yourself if this feels good or bad. You know, we are experimenting with technology, and but nevertheless, not every hack is a good hack. Or we have some, how do you know if you don't try it? You know, the
laboratories are made for that. Science is made for that. It is made for testing trials and error before.
But you cannot have like an employee in a laboratory and by employee contract, so put some stuff into your body.
I agree.
No, we are doing that out of curiosity. And I personally don't have magnets, so I cannot speak of myself. But the point, what I'm trying to say is there are biohacks that adding or altering your senses, or how you perceive time. You know, time, for instance.
Tell me.
You look outside and you see maybe the brightness outside, or it's dark. You have an idea. You look at your phone, at your watch. You can read it. But why not have like a little like metal band around your neck, where you have a little heat point that travels around your neck 360 degrees, and when it's there, you know it's 12 o'clock. When it's there, you know 12 hours have passed. So you transform, you play with your senses. This is for me also biohacking in the strongest word, actually. And then you see, I had a guy who was like talking about, and that was extreme. We were talking about, Kevlar, the material for the protection vest.
Was initially used by the NASA. Yes.
Yeah. So, and I was talking to someone, actually it was by pure coincidence that we were, and he was like, I don't know the English term, in British you say a bouncer at a discotheque, at a nightclub.
Yeah, a bouncer.
Is that a bouncer? Do they call that a bouncer?
A gorilla door.
Yeah. And he said, he would love to have a Tesla neck like a ring implanted around his neck, because the most dangerous attacks at a nightclub door are knives against your neck here. And he said that would be fantastic. So we looked into that, and really crazy things you can. Or now it's a big trend to have even like longer lights under your skin, which is like a very bizarre form, I must admit. It's not something I personally go that way. For me, the way forward is to have like technology that allows you to control and to ease your life. And
to that extent, it's.
I don't want to mess around with batteries or something. That's horrible. And now think about it. A friend of mine, she is completely blind. She has multiple implants because that really helps her life every day. You know, she doesn't need to find her door keys.
Yeah.
Or when she goes swimming, she just doesn't need to fit. She said, Patrick, can you imagine in one hand you have an umbrella because it's raining? Oh, raining. You still remember what rain is?
Yeah. In Miami,
in Miami.
Rain.
So it's rain, and the other she has her stick, her blind stick. And then she said, and now just imagine you need to get your wallet out to take this card to enter the swimming pool. She has it in her hand, puts it there, goes in, or she pays with her hand. So that's great. Another friend of mine is 40 years with Parkinson. He's not able to put his keys in his door anymore. It's not possible. You know, he's shaking so much. He puts his hand against the door opens. Or I once had a girl, she was 8 years old, and I inserted a microchip in her right foot. And then you say, oh my goodness, you know, why foot and 8? And I was really like, oh, can I do this? But she came with her parents. That girl was born without any arms. And her father had a little reader on the door that she can put her foot against the door and the door opens.
Makes sense. Yeah.
You know, it was like, and it's just so easy to put it in, and I really knew it was changing the girl's life.
I do get that. I think that the point of the girl with no arms, of course, makes sense, is the life. So welcome to Neuralink. That is coming, the chip communicating with outside. That's probably the future of all these technology that you are talking about.
Probably.
But most of them, to be honest, I've read a lot about those things, and I've heard that some light, like the light on the arms or on some design was done by a tritium. It's a radioactive molecule.
But they are not the Firefly implants you're referring to.
That's the one.
They're no longer on the market.
Of course. Yeah.
Radioactive material is not something. But that also was a hack, and they realized no, it's not the right direction, and it stopped, which is
but
good.
You know, sciences would have been there to explain that you don't use tritium, radioactive molecule, like that. When this molecule is used in lab, there is precaution, and it's a marker to see where it's going, and it's flushed out. It's not staying on the body. You know, any scientist could have said, like, listen, this is at risk. And I've seen another one that was trying to change the temperature of his body or some things like that.
What?
He was changing the temperature of the body from morning to night, cooling down the body, heating up the body, or some things like that. He had a chip on the chest or some things on the chest.
Are you referring to the little compass that you implanted on the chest?
What does the compass? The compass, for the magnetic field of the pointers.
The compass was around a couple of years ago. It's no longer on the market, but it actually was semi-implanted, and it allowed, or it started to vibrate when you face north, and
like animals.
Yes, exactly. And so of course the normal reaction is, yes, so what? Yeah. But the interesting fact around that is that when you have that, you don't realize it as a sensation anymore. It's just part of your memory. For instance, today you remember how warm is it, how bright the sunshine is, but it adds another sense to your body as well. It feels natural. So that was something I think it's really, really interesting.
It is interesting, actually. You know, today with the chase of expanding sensorial experimentation, sure, it's part of it. It's part of the movement. Everyone wants to extend the sensorial and the feelings that they have for many reasons. So they're using substances or psychedelic eventually as well to get there. I understand that. No, I was more referring to I've heard someone that was trying to reproduce what we actually have naturally in our body, the circadian clock that was changing because, when you sleep, your temperature is lower. When you wake up, it's raising. You have a peak point couple of hours after you woke up. So he was trying to reproduce that with the body. I can't remember the source of that.
I mean, there are lots of biohackers experimenting or trying new things and seeing if something goes the right way or not. For me, my personal limit is when it comes to active technology. You're referring to this temperature implant now. That actually sounds active. Active means it has its own sensor, it has its own energy source and stuff like that. I don't want to have a battery under my skin. That's toxic. Oh, you remember the old, what was it? The old Samsung 6, 7, 8, where the battery exploded in a plane. You don't. I think it's not the right direction for biohackers to move into an area where you have active technology. For me, maybe this is because I'm old now, and maybe I'm, if I would be 20, 30 years younger, I would say, hey, great. But this is my personal limit where I say, no, thank you. Active technology under my skin, no, thank you. That's too much for me. But this little passive grain of rice, hey, yeah, sure. I understand the technology. I know what it does and not does. And so that's fine for me. But having something active, well, I'm out.
Okay, so your definition of active is something that is sending some energy in a way or the other.
Constant energy
supply. Question for you. EMF, it's a constant energy supply, and it's a passive in your case, but it's still an energy. We're discovering the effect of EMF. So more and more we see the industry trying to come up with EMF protection, EMF not in your bedroom. And what about those chips? They have EMF emission.
They are so tiny. No, because they are passive. Only the moment when you use them, this very the split second, they communicate with an object that's like a millimeter away from them, and then it stops. And there is no radiation. They are passive. There's nothing. They're not doing anything. I'm very concerned.
Yeah, I'm curious where the energy is coming from for this passive communication.
Like from your smartphone that you have in your hand, or from the doorknob where you have a little battery or something like that. And if you are concerned about that, then you should throw away all your cards and your key fobs in your wallet, because they are large antennas. They are large.
Sure. Yeah, terrible.
But in comparison to the antenna, the size of the antenna, that's basically the secret. The larger the antenna, the larger the electromagnetic field. And but with these implants, they are just so tiny. It's just, and they're only working or only reacting, only emitting like a nanosecond when you hold them against an active reader, like your smartphone. If you are afraid of EMF, you should throw away your smartphone.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sleeping with the phone close to my head. I'm not afraid about EMF. I'm just like I'm repeating what I hear in this community, making a big deal of EMF. And for now, I'm just looking at the scientific publication, and I'm watching, because there is on both sides there is pros and cons wherever you read. So I'm watching and I'm learning. I'm not afraid about that. I'm truly concerned by magnetic field. Definitely, this is something that I don't even have knives holders, where you hold the knife because on the magnetic band. Because for me, my whole life, even when I was a kid, I was just like, this is not good. This is not right. We shouldn't have something that touch the polarity of your cells in general. We are energy. If you are starting to play with your own energy, you end up by probably triggering things that you don't want to have, like on your body.
And some people, they are very sensitive to that. They can feel it. Others not at all. I don't feel it at all, but I also very precautious and have no Wi-Fi in my bedroom. My smartphone is in the kitchen at night and stuff like that. So they are trying to be as natural as possible. And so it for me, it all comes together, innovative technology and ancient biology. And we're picking the best of both worlds and experimenting
making a better. So how do you see this biohacking, the way you perceive it, in the future? Of course, we have Neuralink that is coming. It's a chip that will communicate, and people say that in the future, maybe you don't even have to talk for communication. But on your side, what could be next? What are the upmost coming up technologies that will make lives of people easier or better or more performer? But I don't want to say that, because when you said before, by printing, for example, you can choose to have body parts different, and then we shift into like human improvement, changing it, and we're very close to DNA modification. I don't want to go that way, but in terms of adding technology to bodies, what are you thinking it's going to come up, and what are you working on that is probably
Jean,
the market?
We could be very grateful, because we are sort of the first generation where, thanks to technology, the blind can see, the lame can walk, and the deaf can hear again. This is thanks to technology. And we have been working with technology inside bodies for a long time. It's nothing that is just popping out because we are biohackers, but this is all for medical reasons. So your body parts don't function anymore due to illness or an accident or whatever, or you're losing parts of your body, and thanks to technology, you can replace them or keep them in a shape to enable your body to reach back to the 100% that you used to have. You know what I mean? So you're trying, with a pacemaker or something, you're trying to support your heart again, not maybe the 100%, but maybe to a 90% functionality. And so that's technology in your body, I think, and we all love that. I mean, it's great that we have that.
Yeah.
The problems we as a society have is when we are beyond the 100%, or when we have a non-medical reason for doing that.
So like making a superhuman, you mean?
Yeah, something like this. So when you are healthy and you're adding technology to your body, people go, "Oh, this is strange." But when you are unhealthy and you're getting technology, the people say, "Hey, this is fantastic." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so,
right.
but when you, for instance, I don't know, like you're having LASIK of your eyes and you have 160% vision for fighter jet pilots or something, or you have breast enlargements or something like that. This is like,
still not,
it's culturally accepted.
It's not toxic. Yeah.
No, that's true, but it's culturally accepted nowadays. People don't talk about it anymore. Yeah. So we have been adding parts to our bodies, and thanks to technologies, changing body tasks for a very long time. It's only this when you are beyond 100%. And of course, we see in this field, the driving force is, of course, the medical field. That when you have your cochlear implant, cochlear implant, then that hearing aids or body parts becoming replaced. Interesting, or it's beginning interesting when these parts are better than the natural human body. I think that's where we are entering an area where we are struggling with the ethics, and where we are seeing, so where's this all going to?
Well, it's because, it's been the crucial dilemma for society across all generations is, how do you improve humans to be better than others? And some people came up with genetics modification first, and I think that people got scared because of of course, whatever is behind the hedonism. I think it's hedonism. Yeah. And making better people, modifying the genetics. So now we have the possibility of making better people using technology. And do you think that in the future you would have a part of the world that is populated with superhuman that have chips and artificial arms or legs or ear or eyes?
For me, these are not superhumans. For me, these are humans. I mean, we have the technology already. We all have a smartphone. And just now, I mean, smartphones came suddenly up, I think 2007 or something, with the birth of the first iPhone or something. Before, there were no real smartphones. So suddenly they were there. And I'm sure we come in our lifespan, we come to a point where they are out of life cycle, where we don't carry this bulky brick anymore in our hands. But does that mean that we are going to communicate less in the future or more? I think that we have just started the digital transformation of our lives, of our surroundings, of ourselves, and that we are just at the very, early stage in digitalization. The next 200, 300, 400 years are just crazy when it comes to digitalization. My problem is always when I prepare, for instance, for a keynote, and I have researched something and I come up with something, and then I, like maybe a couple of weeks later, I say, this maybe comes in 10 years, 20 years time or something. And then I read, it's already there. In 2018, they had the first time that they had 3 brains connected. They were playing Tetris
I remember
together.
That, yeah.
At DC, Washington DC University or something. So I think, yes, we are going to see a lot of more technology entering the human bodies, definitely. But the development is medical driven. And I think we are all agree that this is a very, very good thing. And we will but soon enter an area where medical, non-medical reasons, this is like mishy-mushy. And then we have the choice of having like a brick in our hand or maybe something under the skin that does the same function. I don't believe actually that we are going to see very soon Neuralink that allows us to communicate through our brain, from brain to brain communication or something like this. I think this would transform the human race totally.
Well, I think
like
that
the next level.
Yeah.
But
what about ChatGPT? You've been working on things projecting into the future, but no one in the 2 years ago would ever think that ChatGPT-4 would be changing the world the way it changed it in less than a year. And artificial intelligence and machine learning is going to shift.
Definitely. But you ask me personally, and I think the human brain is still the most complex organ, the most complex thing, I think, in the universe that we can ever imagine. And allowing Neuralink that handicapped people participating on the digital life, entering, computers and steering their mouse with their brain. And that's fantastic.
That's cool. Yeah.
But from that to we are communicating via a brain interface with each other, I think these are like
there is a gap.
Universes apart.
Okay.
But you never know how fast technology is. Yeah. But I personally, in my 50s now, don't see that I will have that. This is something.
Don't you want to live up to 130 like you are supposed to?
No, I am going to live to 104. 104.
104. Okay.
104 is my goal to. Yeah,
KPI.
I told you I'm a quantified self guy, and I'm starting. Yeah, you need to have goals in order to see where you are and how to reach them. But in my bucket list is not to have a brain implant. Maybe on my bucket list is rather not to use, like a smartphone at all. Peace of mind. This is something I'm looking for.
You're putting your finger on a very particular topic there. You can live up to 104, most probably, yes. But 1 person out of 3 in the future will have Alzheimer. Huge problem. Avoiding Alzheimer start by avoiding everything that harms your brain, functionalizes.
Yes.
So including magnetic field.
Now we are going into longevity. My kids are going to be 119, so we've calculated that already.
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at the average year, where people are getting older, and when they are into the average death age or something in the future, they are now 9 and 11, then it's probably absolutely normal to be that. I mean, we have people now who are becoming 116 or something. But for me, it's not my personal goal. My personal goal is I'm looking a lot for peace of mind. I'm doing a lot of meditation. I'm happy when I'm in my garden, when I don't have stress. And also with my microchip implants, I do this to have less stress in my life, to make my life easier and not the other way around, what a lot of people say. I'm a very... I love technology that's invisible. You know, you remember in the 80s where we all had at home this huge hi-fi and racks and tapes and record players, these huge things, and we had cables and big loudspeakers everywhere. You remember that? Now we have like tiny satellite speakers streaming. Do we hear less music or more? I don't know, but
more. And more and more people are listening
it's getting
to music,
invisible. And I like technology that's there, but that's not stressing me. That's easy to use, and that's just in the background that I don't see.
Like
I don't want to have I don't want to have a wall in my living room full of CDs like we used to have in the 80s or 90s. I don't want that anymore. I want to have some plants there, and this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's pretty beautiful, actually, seen on that way. And I think that there's a lot of work for the perception of what you're preaching, because at first sight is like biohacking in general as a negative perception. Then all these things that you've mentioned today, RFID technologies that help you to open the door or get to the gym or whatever, help your life to be easier. I got that definitely, and I think that it's a good point. It's honorable, and I think it works because it generates less stress. You don't have to think about some stuff. The extreme of that, and this is like the governance that is behind everything that we're doing all together, is how do we control, like you personally are this type of person, what avoid another person with bad intention to say, well, I want to have a gun in my finger. I'm kidding, I'm making like a joke on that, but you know, how do you stop? Where do you stop? How do you put regulation and approval to possibilities? And this is where we stand today. Who's going to do the governance on that?
I think we have, like always, we have 3 ways on how to respond with or how to handle that. On the one hand, we have some sort of laissez-faire. We don't care. We are French. we don't care. Everyone should do what they want. And
let's make a revolution.
Something like, and do what you want. I am not sure if this is the right way. On the other hand, we have the option to regulate everything, to forbid everything to have.
It's not good either.
And it's like with drugs, you see it doesn't really work. People are doing what people want to do. So I think maybe we need some sort in-between approach that we look very carefully what is happening. We need to be in a dialogue. And I think the most important is that we have public dialogues being without any anxiety, that people are not anxious about technology they don't see or don't understand. Because lots of people I'm talking to, they are like, oh, you have microchip implant, blah, blah, blah. So they are scared and afraid of that because they haven't got a clue about the technology. And when you explain that to them, why do you go to the vet and have your dog chipped like nothing? You don't even think about it. No. But when you have the same technology in your body, you're like crazy. It doesn't make sense. So when you explain things and then have a positive, negative conversation, that makes things so much easier. And I think it's totally fine that people say, no, that's like too much. This is biohacking beyond what I want. That's totally fine.
It's
that
their
everyone,
choice. Yeah.
It's their choice. This is what I say. But others say, no, I'm enjoying that. And I'm cool. Or I know people who are collecting microchip implant. A friend of mine, she has more than 30. It's like, yeah, that's a hobby. So why not?
So it becomes addictive.
Yes. No. But she also likes her bulletproof coffee and she also tracks their sleep. Yes, they consider themselves also as being biohackers.
Interesting. Yeah, it's
like
they're
great people, very open-minded people.
Yeah. Well, I think that what you're saying, if I got it right, is as long as you don't interfere with the freedom of others, you can do whatever you want. And if you like it, you do it. And it shouldn't be bothering others, and others shouldn't be bothering you because you do it. There's a limit of that. I agree. It's acceptance and understanding. Fair enough. I think that we got it. We're there, and we're going to keep going and seeing what is happening in this world of chips under the skin and biohacking. Please,
for cyborg gains. You have the word even in your title.
Absolutely. And you know where it's coming from?
A cybernetic organism.
No, for me, it was actually, you know what? My friend gave me the nickname of cyborg because I started to do a sport called calisthenics, and I was doing moves, and I'm older than my friends doing that sport. And I was learning those moves faster than anyone. And one day I turn around after doing an handstand, I go down and a guy look at me and goes like, who are you? How'd you do that? And my joke was like, wow, I'm a cyborg. And it stayed that way. It's just like because of the sport performance, not because of I don't have any chips.
I see. But by definition, a cyborg is, a living organism with added technology.
Absolutely.
And but on the other hand, this is so Hollywood. This is so Terminator. No, I'm not a cyborg. I'm just a human with the door keys under the skin. You know what I mean? So Hollywood is like loving the cyborg theme, and we all love the cyborg. Darth Vader, they are cyborgs. We all love that.
They scare people in a way too. I think that some people like interesting fact, Patrick, when you talk about longevity, I think that the concept of cyborg or cybernization is a kind of scary parameter in the mind of many people, because the answer of most out there would be, oh yeah, I want to live longer, but I don't want to live longer as a cyborg. I want to live longer as a human. So they make a distinction there.
We are all humans, even if we have technology under the skin. And now imagine we are coming up with the first glucose implants.
Monitoring. It's true.
Monitoring glucose implants fully under the skin. Yeah. By definition, those people would be cyborgs.
Absolutely. What's the difference between these and what you do? I agree. I give it 100% to you.
Yeah.
You're right.
I think my point for today is, and then we can wrap it up, there's in the biohacking area, I really want that people are open-minded, that there is not one way that's right or wrong. What works for one person might not be true for another person. When I take supplements, I don't take vitamin D or C because every second biohacker, has a post about how important it is. No, I do my measurements and I take only what's missing in my body. I know what I'm taking and must take. So I'm fine with that. And I think we should be really open-minded. And there are other fields in the biohacking area that are fascinating. And when you really look at the word hacking and do-it-yourself approaches to, that's the gist of it, I would say. And that's what fascinating and drives me every day.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for that. I like this conclusion. Was an absolute pleasure having you, Patrick. It's interesting because I have to be honest on my conclusion on this. When I had you initially, I was just like trying to understand why all these technologies are under your skin, both way, figuratively and literally. Now I understand. They make your life easier, and you have removed all the little buggers that are part of our daily lives. And you are right. I give you credit for that. You're removing stressors with these things. So kudos. Bravo.
I didn't know it's a test.
Thank you so much for being my guest today. It was a great pleasure. So we're going to route people to your website and inform people. If you have anything that you want to promote personally, that's the time to do it.
Now I should promote something?
If you want.
Oh, yeah, of course. Come to my website, upgradedhumans.com. It's in English, it's in German. You can buy their implants, you can get a lot of information. Talk to me. Follow my podcast. Well, it's in German. Here in Germany, as I said, English podcasts are not very popular. So, but nevertheless,
artificial intelligence makes translation very fast.
That's true. No, but it was a pleasure talking with you about it, and I hope I made some gains to the cyborg.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Patrick. It was actually, honestly, very interesting.